Hey there, I'm Rascal, and if you haven't heard, one of the biggest games of the year recently released, and it broke every marketplace it was released on, just down to the sheer amount of people trying to purchase it at launch. That game was Hollow Knight Silksong, the sequel to Hollow Knight, a 2017 Metroidvania that I really should have finished by now. I played it for about 5 hours back in 2022, but the true final boss, known as Life, got in the way, and I never gave it the proper time it deserved. Now, it's time to change that. But I don't want to just finish Hollow Knight, I want to complete it. And while I haven't looked up any guides, I have friends who have told me that this challenge will be harder than any game I've ever completed before. But I'm nothing if not stubborn. So let's see if I still have that dog in me, or if Hollow Knight will be the game on which I hit my head against, and instead of it breaking, I do. I start my journey by clearing my previous save and starting a new one, where the first thing I'm presented with is a poem. In wilds beyond they speak your name with reverence and regret, for none could tame our savage souls, yet you the challenge met. Under palest watch, you talked, we changed, base instincts were redeemed, a world you gave to bug and beast as they had never dreamed. LG for Hallownest by Monoman the Teacher. And I have no idea what this means. But hey, it's Cinematic Explain, which seems to have an explosion go off inside a face of some sort. Huh, okay. Oh, there's my character. That I understand. I gain control of my character after they jump down from a ledge and make my way to the right. Some credits pop up, and after a quick bit of platforming, I find a giant tablet that teaches me about soul, which is acquired from hitting enemies. Extracting soul through violence. Is this going to be like Uncle Ruckus exercising stick Mina? I also learned that holding B allows me to use that soul to heal, which I need to do because somehow I managed to get hit twice before making it to the first tutorial. After backtracking quickly to check if I missed anything and collecting some of the currency, I move forward, find another money rock, and then get brought down to 1 health by this pesky fly. This is filling me with confidence in my abilities to be able to complete this game. After a bit more platforming, I find this beautiful blue sack thing that I break, and after murdering the insects that came out of it, I get some extra health added to my health bar. After this, I make my way to the right, where the path crumbles from under me. I make a few jumps forwards, and now might be a good time to tell you a quick secret. Apart from the few hours I've played before, which I honestly don't remember much of, I'm going into Hollow Knight completely blind. But meet Aaron. He's completed the game to 112% before, and is part of the reason I decided to finally get around to playing Hollow Knight. He was so excited when Silksong finally got a release date that I realized that Hollow Knight might just have the source. Anyways, I was going to jump up here, but Aaron told me to go down instead and go into this hidden area. And after I collected some more coins, he taught me the ways of using downward attack on certain hazards to bounce off of them, or more commonly known as pogoing. And it may have taken me an attempt or two, but I got the hang of it. This led me to another tablet, which makes absolutely zero sense to me. But I'm rewarded with a chest containing my first charm, the Fury of the Fallen, though I can't equip it yet. This would also be where my first achievement would have unlocked if I hadn't already gotten it back in 2022. I drop down a hole that loops me back to where I've already come from, and jump back up to where the floor caved in. This time, I followed the path I was originally going to take before Aaron intervened, until I find some planks that I can break to get me out of this hole. A short ways further ahead, I find another tablet that ominously tells me to enter the land of King and Creator, and I need to obey the laws.
Respect my authority!
And then told to the last and only civilization, Hallownest. Just beyond the tablet, I find a giant door that instead of looking for a doorknob, I decide to break down. I don't know who put that there, but I have questions. On the other side of the doorway, I find myself confronted with a large drop, which I jump down, and I'm very happy to learn that my immortal enemy, gravity, can do me no harm here. I walk forward and enter the town of Dirtmouth, though it looks like the town has seen better days. I run into this guy, Elderbug, and I wonder if his parents named him that. Elderbug tells me that he's the only one left in Dirtmouth, and that everyone else from the town has gone down below into the now ruined kingdom, which is where I'm headed, and he calls me out on it. He then warns me that the air down below drives people mad and turns the bugs hollow. Next to Elderbug, I find my first bench, which promptly heals me up and allows me to equip the charm I picked up earlier. This charm is essentially the red tearstone ring from Dark Souls. I know, this will probably not be the last time I compare Hollow Knight to Dark Souls. I freaking love Dark Souls. When you're near death, you get a power boost. I also realized with the location in which you find it means that this charm is for players much more skilled than myself, such as speedrunners. I equip it nonetheless and continue through the town, where I find a sign on a door saying that a store for mapping supplies will be opening soon, signed by Iselda and Cornifer. And with all that done, it's time to make my way down into that ruined kingdom. I drop down from Dirtmouth into the forgotten Crossroads, and with it being a crossroads, I have a decision to make. I decide to go left. I come out into a room with a bunch of dangling chains, but decide to keep going left for the moment. This is where I walk into a room with a weird crying caterpillar thing, though I can't seem to console them or hit them, so after checking that I can't go any further left, I make my way back to the room with the dangling chains. From here, I intentionally drop to the bottom of the room, and totally don't end up there because I failed at platforming. From here, I descend into the room below. This is where I meet this jolly fellow humming his little tune, who tells me that he's working on mapping out the local area and offers me a copy of what he's mapped out so far. Not for free though, that would be bad business. Nah, he charges me a crisp 30, and with that, I have myself a map. He then informs me that it would pair well with a compass that can be purchased from his wife, Isolde, back in Dirtmouth. So this must be Cornifer. Good to meet you, buddy. Pleasure doing business. I then drop down, and after falling on some spikes, continue with my patented technique of exploring to the left, which brings me into a room with a bunch of rock worm-like creatures that are consistently popping out of the ground. I can't hurt them, so I platform through the room and make it to the other side. The next one over is one filled with acid, and this flying mob that is spawning smaller, even more annoying flying mobs. Gee, I sure hope this is the worst flying mob I'm going to have to face on my journey. I make it to the other side of the room, where I find another green caterpillar thing, though this one's stuck inside of a jar. I break it, and the little one does a little celebration before scurrying away. That was pretty cute. Now, I make my way back to the room where I purchased the map. But, on my way, I use the elite skills I learned to pogo off of one of the worms and collect some extra currency, giving me a nice amount. Now I'm back in the room where I met Cornifer. It's time to completely break the mold and head to the right. Upon entering the next room, I jump up a small passage to collect some more currency. However, when I jump back down and into the large chamber right next to me, the doors close behind me, the music kicks in, and out comes a new type of enemy. A flying thing that fires projectiles. Okay, I take it out. And out comes another two. And that was it? Huh. A little underwhelming. From here, I enter the room at the top right of the arena to find a hot spring, which fills your soul while resting at it. You can see this happening on screen right now. Here's the thing. I didn't notice because I stopped moving to talk to chat. So this is something I'm not going to learn for a little while yet. I also find a bench in this room and rest up. Now, back out we go. This time, I take the bottom left path out of the room where I fought the previous battle. This leads me to a room with a jump I can't make. But if I know anything about Metroidvanias, it's just a jump that I can't make yet. And at the bottom of the room, I find some more money rocks. With all the coins collected, I go back to the room where I fought the flyy shooty mob and go down the only path that remains unexplored. I find another jump that I can't quite reach, and a bunch more rock worms that I have to jump past. But I easily make it through and into the next room over, where I slot some angry flies and avoid even more worms. Now I've made it through there, I notice a sign pointing up, so I follow it up. I then see another matching sign, so into the room on the left I go. In here, I find a bench to rest at, and a toll machine with the symbol of the stag. I finally learn that the game's currency is actually called Geo, and asks me to insert 50. I do, and out pops a bell. I decide to ring it and... Oh my god, what is that? It's running towards me! Oh. It's friendly. This is the last stag, and they will be our fast travel service during this game, though I don't use the service straight away. I make my way back out of the station. From here, I jump up until I find an exit on the left. On the other side, I find my greatest challenge yet. A giant mob with a large club. And while slow, if they land an attack, it deals 2 masks worth of damage. Thankfully, I found the perfect strategy. Obi-Wan would be proud. I then make my way left, taking out a few regular sized mobs along the way. And in the next room over, I walk in and realize my way is blocked by a gate. So, I make my way up the platforms on the right side of the room, and on the level above, I enter a room with a few more mobs that I take out when I'm ambushed by my first boss, the False Knight. Now, I start the fight by taking some damage from the False Knight's jump and swing attack, and then some more by walking into them, and then one more mask of health by them jumping on me. But after that, I'm able to get past them and begin to heal. Then a matter of avoiding the shockwaves the False Knight sends out and getting hits in whenever possible. After dealing enough damage, the big guy falls over, revealing a white head from the inside of the armor. Now, so far, hitting the boss hasn't been filling up our soul, but hitting the head does. So, I've now got some more heals stored up. Once I've landed enough hits on the head, it re-enters the armor and the boss starts throwing a tantrum, causing rocks to fall from the sky that will deal damage if I can't dodge them. Once the False Knight has calmed down, I repeat the process once, again, and on the third tantrum, they go a bit too hard and cause the floor to fall out from under us. Then the head falls out for a last time upon hitting the ground, and I deal the final blow, revealing that the head belonged to a tiny body for such a large armor. A bit like if it was a Power Ranger piloting a Zord. Anyways, that's my first boss taken down, though not that impressive, as this is where the achievement Falsehood would have popped had I not already unlocked it. But that's okay. We're inching closer to new and unexplored content with every mob we slay. I pick up the city crest that was dropped by the False Knight and find a chest up a ledge just outside the arena. I then make my way into the room on the left, where I find a switch that opens a shortcut back to where I met Cornifer. Nice. But I've already explored out there. So back into the room with the lever I go. Inside, I make my way up to the upper levels, where I find the entrance to a house of sorts. I enter, and on the inside, I find a bench to rest at, and this person known as the Snail Charm. And though they don't know me, they offer me a gift of what they call a nasty little spell of their own creation. And now I'm not going to turn that down. My parents always told me never to trust a stranger stranger if they were offering me candy, but they never said anything about magic. The shaman summons a floating white ball that looks to be made of soul. I touch the ball and absorb the energy into me before falling to the ground with the screen fading to black. A message then appears on the screen saying that I've consumed the vengeful spirit and that I can unleash it by tapping B. I then wake up locked in a room with the snail shaman on the other side of the door. When I speak to them, they inform me that they would like me to do them a favor. A beast has set up shop inside this temple, and the shaman would like me to remove the creature. Not as repayment though, but because we're friends. Well, there's no other way out here, so I guess I have to comply. I make my way through the temple, avoiding the use of vengeful spirit to conserve soul, until I come face to face with this little guy. Time to unleash my new power. I'm a fire in my laser! Nice. I then continue forward and find some planks that I can break, find a hidden area with a soul totem inside. This allows me to recharge my soul, though here I wasn't very efficient with it, as I already had full soul. Anyways, exploring more of this room, I take out some more enemies, find some more geo, and even found a lifeblood cocoon. But after chasing down the little blue insects, give me 2 extra masks. From here, I jump down a level and come face to face with the beast the shaman was speaking of. And I can't get up close and personal with them, because otherwise they go full hermit mode and roll up into a ball. So the technique here is to wait for the beast to spit out one of the smaller mobs I lasered earlier, strike those with my nail to build up soul, and then fire a vengeful spirit at the big beastie to deal damage. And after a few hits, the beastie falls. Hopefully the shaman will release us now. Oh, and behind the corpse of the beast, I find my second charm, the soul catcher. After this, I break the planks behind me and drop down to where I regain consciousness. After a quick conversation about my exploits, the gate opens, and the shaman sounds surprised by this. With this, I walk past my new friend and rest on the bench to equip my new charm, the soul catcher charm. The soul catcher charm increases the amount of soul gained when striking enemies. Aaron also teaches me about the secret technique known as overcharming. See, every charm has a notch value. The higher the cost, the more powerful the charm. Makes sense, right? And notches right here tell you how much you can have equipped. But if you keep trying to equip a charm over the limit, it will eventually let you. However, this will cause you to be overcharmed and take double damage. And with all that explained, I unequip the charm and proceed to completely ignore the existence of this mechanic. Now, I think it's time to go back to Dirtmouth for a visit. That map shop should be open, right? So I leave the building with the snail shaman, make my way down to the shortcut I opened, and go up to the room with the dangling chains. But I may have taken a wrong turn on my way up to Dirtmouth. I went down this passageway on the right instead of going to the one all the way at the top of this room. I decide to explore this way anyways, and find one of the little caterpillar things that I can't save yet. Apparently, vengeful spirit doesn't work on glass. I continue to the right for another few rooms, killing enemies and collecting geo along the way, before coming to a room that essentially allows me to U-turn by going up and taking the exit to the left. I keep going straight before coming out into a room with another building in the center. I enter and discover the Temple of the Black Egg, where I find one of the things that was shown to me in the intro cinematic, and not much else. Not gonna lie, I don't quite understand what all this is, but I'm assuming this is something that's going to come up later on. So I leave the temple and make my way to the left. The next room over, I find the passage back to Dirtmouth. And the store has opened. You know what that smells like?
A fantastic day for capitalism.
I go inside and meet Iselda, who seems overjoyed at her job in retail. I get you, Iselda. Faking a smile for minimum wage is no one's idea of a dream job. I do make the most of her services though, and purchase the Wayward Compass, charm that will show my location on the map, so I can avoid another wrong turn while trying to find my way around. The Quill, which allows me to update my map with places I visited whenever I rest at a bench. The Bench Pins, that will show me the location of benches on my map. Vendor Pins, so I can easily continue to partake in capitalism. And finally, the Stagway Pins, so if ever I get lost, I just get an Uber home. And with that...
Good news, guys. I spent all my money.
After this, I go outside to rest at a bench and update my map, attach my new charms, and with that, the adventure continues. Now, it's time to head back down and make my way to the room with the dangling chains again, this time not heading to the bottom, but taking an exit on the left which has some foliage around it. On the other side, I find a sign that tells me about the Pilgrim's Way, that if I follow, all my wishes will be granted, and truths revealed. I need to start thinking up a wish. I'm thinking about asking for great power. Spider Comet said that comes with bonuses. Anyways, I walk past the sign and come face to face with another big beastie. Thankfully, I already know how to deal with this guy, so I managed to take him down, but wait, what?
Surprise, motherfucker.
No! Well, that's the end of my deathless run, and to mark the occasion, let's get out the death counter. I respawn back up in Dirtmouth and make my way back to where I died. When I walk into the room, eerie music starts playing, and I come face to face with a ghost version of myself. When you die in Hollow Knight, you firstly drop all your geo. You also have your available soul limited to 2/3. Vanquishing the ghost retrieves said geo and unlimits the amount of soul available to you. I managed to take it out without much trouble, then I make my way to explore the path beyond where the big old beastie once stood. And after a bit of platforming, I enter the next room over, bringing me to the green path, which I will say has some lovely music and some gorgeous scenery, and personally makes me think of Darkroot Base. I also come across some new enemies in this area. The first one I come across is this cute little guy, who's made of leaves and jumps out from under the foliage, and who I feel bad about fighting. The next one I come across is this less cute guy, who after a short build-up, lets out an explosion, dealing damage all around them, and then once killed, their corpse lets out one final explosion. I feel less bad about fighting these mobs. There's also this one, who looks like the previous one, but doesn't explode. I would say I'm net neutral in fighting these guys. I also find a hidden alcove that contains some geo. And another new enemy. You caught me off guard. This plant lays silent until you walk on it. And surprise attack tries to bite you. I survived, but it did make me jump. Anyways, I'm able to make it to the next room over, where I find another bench to rest at. After my quick rest, I break the lamp next to me and make my way into the next room over, where... Wait, I recognize you! You must be John Silksong! Look, Silksong, don't go! Ugh. Well, can't make that jump, so I guess I'm going to have to go down. I make my way to the bottom of the room and leave to the right. In here, I discover a new environmental mechanic. There are these large blocks that are being held up by vines. If I cut the vines, the block falls to the ground. Neat, right? Well, it has more uses than just the intrinsic entertainment of dropping a big block on the ground. Like this one. The extra elevation allows me to make this jump. Enemies don't particularly like being under the block when it drops as well, and it's even used to unlock shortcuts. So yeah, pretty cool. After unlocking the shortcut, I drop down into the room below. Get a
Double kill.
using a block and make my way forward, where for some reason I don't enter this room on the right. It may have something to do with the pointy teeth coming out of the environment. Instead, I drop down and find a set of spikes that fail a few times at pogoing over, but eventually I succeed in my platforming. This allows me to break another vine and rescue another caterpillar, which probably means that these are going to be collectible. So here's a counter to keep track of them. From here, I make my way to the left and exit the room, where I run into John Silksong again, before they promptly run away from me. I also run into this new flying mob, though there doesn't seem to be much thought in the way they attack. They just exist and shoot out 4 projectiles diagonally from themselves. After taking it out, I drop down and find another hidden alcove behind one of those explodey mobs. And in here, I find a stone of sorts with some text on it. Those who stray from the White King's roads shall face the law of Un. Yep, no idea. I leave and drop down a level, where on the right, I find a room containing a bench to rest on. But I don't stay long. I leave the bench room and head to the left, where I start taking fire from a plant on the roof. I do figure out that I can send the projectiles back at the enemy though, by hitting them just at the right angle. I continue down, taking out more of the shooty plants that I find, until I find a passage on the right, where the plants in here look pretty healthy for a place that doesn't seem to be getting much light. I make it to the far end of the room, where I find a building that I can enter, and oh my.
Hey, who turned out the lights?
Now, I do make my way through this room, before having flashbacks to 7-year-old me brute forcing my way through Rock Tunnel and Pokemon Red without Flash. I don't know why I did that, but that experience convinced me to come back to this building later, when I'm assuming I'll be better equipped. I make my way back to where there's lights and continue down, where I come to a pool of acid. Thankfully, there's this guy, who kind of looks like an Armatana. Maybe I should call him Blast. Anyways, I pogo on Blaster and reach the other side. From here, I can drop down, and I can sense an area change coming. In the room below, up pops the name, Fog Canyon. I drop down a bit more and into this room on the right, where I hear the distinct humming of cornifer. I also encounter some floating jellyfish, though they seem pretty passive. I jump to the other side of the room, where I come across this black energy barrier thing, which hitting it doesn't seem to do much. I try just walking through, but that also fails. There doesn't seem to be any other exit in here, so backwards is the way forward. Back in the previous room, I start exploring downwards, where I make a scary discovery. While the jellyfish may be passive, they seem to have an inbuilt defense mechanism. If I kill one of the larger ones, a homing projectile comes straight for me. I managed to dodge the first one, but the second one I come up again lands a direct hit, dealing not 1, but 2 masks of damage. So I gotta be careful. I heal up and take out another large jellyfish without taking a hit, but fall into some acid. Hey, that's okay. I found a passageway slightly up to the left, where there seems to be some weird electrical storms going on. I contemplate whether I should push forward or retreat to safety. I then remember the saying, fortune favors the brave, and attempt to jump, where I fall into acid. But that's okay. Failure isn't falling down. It's not having the strength to get back up. So I try again. This time I get hit by electricity and fall into the acid again. I'm now down to 1 mask of health. So this is where I remember another truism. Every corpse on Mount Everest was once a highly motivated person. So I decide, once again, that backwards is the way forward. I drop down, not falling into acid, and okay. After respawning, I make my way back down to Fog Canyon to retrieve my Geo, an extra soul, when well, 3rd time's a charm. I make it down to Fog Canyon again, and oof! And 2nd hit. Okay, time to heal. 3rd hit. Doesn't matter. I made it to my ghost. I managed to take it out, which grants me nothing of real value. I don't even know why I came back, or why I keep hitting the jellyfish. But at this point, I decide to go down a different direction. I make my way back up to the bench where I was before. From the bench, I leave the room and head back up to the room with the diagonally shooting flying mobs. From here, I make my way to the left. I'm able to start building up my money reserves again and get caught out by a Venus night trap, but survive and perform some deforestation in return. I then go into the next room across and manage to avoid falling into the acid. Impressive. I know. I land on a platform when I'm charged at by this giant leaf monster. I manage to jump up and over it, but then it charges me from behind. This time, Pogo on it, removing the leaves, revealing a much smaller creature underneath, who I push into the acid. I continue forward, taking out any leaf monsters along the way, when it's you again. John Silksong makes a run for it, but this time, I'm able to follow after them. The next room over, I follow them up to the room above. Here, I can't see them, so I decide to explore around. I make my way up the right side of the room, which brings me to a bench behind a gate. Thankfully, there's a toll machine not far away asking for 50 geo, and as luck would have it, I have just the right amount. I open the gate and rest quickly before continuing along the newly opened path. On my way up, I have to perform some hit and fall tactics to take out one of the explodey mobs chilling on a platform I need to land on. But apart from that, I'm able to make my way through the room without much trouble. I come out of the top passage and decide to keep going up, where I find another stone with a message. The greater mind once dreamed of leaf and cast these caverns so. In every bush and every vine, the mind of Un reveals itself to us. I still don't understand and decide to jump back down. Now, I try the passage to the left, where I find it to be a dead end. So I head back and make my way to the right. I enter a room where in the middle, there's a face inside a pile of leaves, and my night senses are tingling. I hit the leaves, the gates to the room close, and the music starts. But that's okay. Last time I fought in a room like this, oh my god, this is so much worse. The knight has a shield to block my attacks. If I get hit and decide to back up to heal, they have a projectile attack as well. But I keep my cool, and having only panicked a little bit, the knight falls. I make my way forward down the path and find a passage to a room above. Unfortunately, up here, the beautiful greens of the green path fade away into the greys resembling the crossroads. But can't worry about that right now, because just a bit further up, I see someone who looks like they need help. I jump up to the platform and strike the giant fly that is attacking the person in distress. The fly drops their victim to the floor, screams, and the battle is on. The boss's attack pattern is an intense one, where they will swoop down at you. Thankfully, I use the teachings of Aaron, Pogo on them as they perform this attack. The other moveset they have is screaming for help like a little baby, and smaller flies appear to attack me. Somehow, they landed more hits than the big boss, but this is where the third and final part of the fight comes in. I can just hide under the platform to heal up, and now that you know all that, it's not long before I land the killing blow on the large fly. At least I was able to help someone in need. I go check on them and... Excuse me? So you are Zoto the Mighty, is it? Okay, I'll remember that. Is that a threat? Your lucky friendly fire isn't turned on. I leave Zoto the Mighty to his rest and make my way to the left, where at least I find the luscious greens of the green path again. So that's something. I drop down and head to the right, where some more leaf monsters start charging at me. I jump over them and then drop down into this little hidden area. Oh, for flip's sake. I'm not going to understand this, am I? The green children walked from the dream unto these lands. Here we now shall wait, patient for the call to return. I can't wait to deep dive some lore videos. I make my way back and drop down where I come across another knight, but they're guarding Caterpillar in a jar, so I know what must be done. And thankfully, this time, I could just jump out of the arena to heal up, though I did get jump scared once when another knight started firing at me from the left. But I survived, and I'm able to bring the knight down. And with that, I'm also able to release the Caterpillar. Now, I want revenge for that jump scare, so I go and face the knight that fired on me from the left. At this point, I've had enough practice, and I'm able to take them out pretty quickly. I then go a bit more left and... Oh, for flip's sake. At least after killing that one, I'm rewarded with a fair few geonodes. So I'm making up for that lost currency from earlier. Now I drop down and make my way to the left, and make another jump to enter a room that causes the music to stop playing. I walk forward where I finally caught up to you. What's this? I know what you tried to do. Listen, I don't even know what I'm trying to do. Please, Silksong, What do you mean their name isn't John Silksong? It's what? Hornet. And why didn't they put that on the box of the sequel? So this is Hornet. And before I go any further, can we just appreciate how much of a banger this music is? I would say this is the first certified banger of the playthrough. Now, as Hornet seems to have chosen violence, let's get to the fight. Hornet is way more agile than myself, and seems to fight with a needle and some string. They can jump up and dash at you, throw a needle towards you and pull it back. They also have a jump attack where they surround themselves with string, and then they have a regular jump. But they also stagger after a few hits. At one point, I get knocked down to one mask, and from here, it becomes a stressful battle of trying to find space to heal between regaining soul. But I managed to get back up to 3 masks, stagger Hornet one last time, and land the final blow. But Hornet doesn't die. They just do what they've done every other time. Run away.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Kind of rude if you ask me. But them leaving caused a corpse of someone who looks a lot like me to fall over. Is Hornet a bug racist? They do have a pointy white... This corpse reveals an item. I go to expect it and... Oh, hell yeah! I acquire the Mothwing Cloak. In other words... the dash. But after this, there's an explosion of white on the screen, and a voice calls out to me.
Would it seek to break the seals? They cannot be undone. They must be undone. Let us sleep, little shadow. Turn to your darkness. Allow us our peace.
3 figures then appear above me, and then another explosion. Oh no. Hey there. Firstly, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. These videos always take way longer to make than I originally intend. But if you've made it this far, that means that hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you want support, you know, you can do all that YouTuber stuff, you know. I would also really appreciate any feedback. I am still learning in the way I'm making these videos, and I'm getting better, but I also feel like there may still be a long way to go. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching again, and thank you to all the people on screen right now for your support in me getting to this point. Alrighty, thank you. Stay safe. Peace. Bye.